Hello everyone and welcome back to Movies with Michael. Today we are continuing our look at Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy with Part 2, The Desolation of Smaug. But if you haven't seen my review of Part 1, An Unexpected Journey, you should go and check that out right now. But without further delay, let's get started. The opening scene of Thorin and Gandalf's first meeting is quite unnecessary. The only purpose it serves is to remind the audience of the Arkenstone, which was already emphasized by the first film's prologue sequence. I think this movie didn't need a quote-unquote prologue type of scene and should have just gotten into the action right away. Azog's warg-riding party is in hot pursuit of Thorin's company after their escape via the Eagles. While on lookout, Bilbo spots the skin changer, Beorn, in bear form. This is a character that was tragically wasted in these films. The way they introduce him is awesome, and his dialogue could be considered foreshadowing to him being the one to eventually kill Azog. However, they didn't take these things anywhere, which sucks because he was almost perfectly depicted from what we saw of him. Azog's son Bolg comes to his father's hunting party in the forest outside of Beorn's homestead and calls him back to the fortress of Dol Guldur, because the necromancer wants to talk. Aside from getting more of Bilbo's growing relationship with the ring, we see that the necromancer wants Azog to abandon his vendetta for the time being and begin gathering his armies for war. Azog decides to send Bolg after the dwarves in his stead. After some assistance from Beorn, the company of dwarves arrive at the western edge of the Forest of Mirkwood. This is when Gandalf is prompted to lead the company to investigate the High Fells, the mountain tombs of a certain group of the Kings of Men, suspecting the necromancer might be involved. The Mirkwood scene is awesome, whether it's the way that they show the company going off the trail, or the spiders attacking our group of dwarves. The sequence really gives Bilbo his time to shine, with killing the giant spiders and freeing his companions. Even that little scene where Bilbo kills that smaller spider to get the ring back was a good addition, as it shows that the ring has already gotten into the Hobbit's mind. I don't mind the way they introduce the Wood Elves, as it gets across that they are in fact meaner than the High Elves. I also think it was a great idea to feature Legolas in these films, but not as a main character. Speaking of unnecessary main characters, let's talk about Tauriel, played by Evangeline Lilly. Now, inherently, having an original female elf character as the captain of the guard is not wrong. However, when you make that original character a main character that has a romance with a canon character, that's where I draw the line. This plotline doesn't affect the narrative, it doesn't drive the story forward, and it becomes very annoying. And that's why I won't talk about it anymore. The halls of the Woodland Realm are also excellently designed. Their king, Thranduil, is a character I've had mixed feelings about. Initially, I felt they greatly overdid his characterization, especially in some of his third film moments. I don't mind Lee Pace as the king as much now, because I can see that they were showing that he is very different from a character like Elrond. I also think that he was an appropriate character to have more of in these films. So Bilbo steals the keys and releases his companions from their cells, and barrels out of bound. Despite this action scene being added for the film, I don't mind that Bolg's band would attack the elves like this. The scene is also impressive considering that they actually went down the river in barrels to film it, but when Bombor starts flying around and knocking over orcs while inside a barrel, and then pulls out two swords and goes Beyblade on the orcs, that's just when the movie goes into self-parody mode. It's moments like these that greatly embarrass the trilogy. Also, the whole Morgul Shaft plotline, though it's a cool concept, should have stayed as such. But anyway, the dwarves eventually are able to escape down the river and get away from the elves. Oh yes, Gandalf had a side quest. The decision to show all of what Gandalf was doing is often criticized for being just another side plot that bloats these films even more. But I've grown to like it. In the book, Gandalf just disappears at various points in the story to God knows where. Since the films already are visualizing more things to build the narrative on an international level, I think showing this was a good decision. We get more time with Radagast and Dol Guldur. I'm a big fan of all the Dol Guldur sequences in this film, but I am not so much a fan of including Thrain in the extended cut, as I think he just should have been dead at this point. We also get the reveal that the Necromancer is the returning Sauron. We'll get back to this in the next film. Our introduction to the main human character in these movies, Bard, is one I'm still conflicted about. For the films, they rewrote his story to make him a working-class man who is popular among the commoners. Therefore, he just happens to come across our company along the river. I'm leaning towards this being an unnecessary change. Now, Bard is another character that was appropriate to add more to make him more than just a blank slate human warrior/leader. Luke Evans also was a great actor to play the character, as he looks and behaves like you'd expect. However, I think the way he is in this film was written only to add more time to make the film longer. So after the dwarves are eventually welcomed and sent off by the men of Lake Town, they finally come upon the Lonely Mountain. The entire sequence of them finding and opening the secret door is another sequence they did well for the films. Oh, but what's this? An entire plotline with Legolas and Tauriel fighting orcs in Lake Town, Tauriel going full movie Arwen and healing Keely, Legolas fighting Bolg to set up their grudge match for the next movie, and what the heck is that? Yes, I know. This really did not have to happen. Back to the good stuff. Here's the scene we've all been waiting for, Bilbo's conversation with Smaug the Golden. I think it's great that they made the big dragon a character that can be acted out, and not just a big digital creature with a voice actor. Benedict Cumberbatch can move around like you'd think a big reptilian creature would, while also giving a powerful voice. This of course makes the point that this character is much more than just a big animal. All in all, this is another scene they knew they had to get right in the films, and they absolutely nailed it. Now, the entire sequence of Thorin threatening Bilbo about where the Arkenstone is, the dwarves trying to kill Smaug, I'm still not sure what to think of it. Having more screen time for Smaug was great, and most of the dialogue is good, but the whole sequence is just, well, silly. I mean, their plan was to try and drown Smaug in liquid gold. Yeah. It still ends the same way, with Smaug breaking out of the mountain and flying towards Lake Town, which of course ends the film and gives us I See Fire by Ed Sheeran. The Desolation of Smaug is unfortunately a mixed bag. It does Beorn, Mirkwood, Lake Town, Erebor, and Smaug very, very well, but also bloats itself with useless characters and nonsensical plot lines. I do think some people take their criticisms too far with this film, but this is where the trilogy's flaws really get in your face. I think they should have cut the film down and made what happens in the next film this film's third act. I still enjoy this film much more now than I used to, and I think things done well can outdo the things done wrong. And that's why I'll give The Desolation of Smaug a 7.5 out of 10. But with that, folks, thank you all so much for joining me today, and please remember to leave a like, comment down below what you think about The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, and subscribe for more content about movies. That's all for now, and I will see you all in the next video.